Hey, welcome back to another weekend vlog. It is Thursday once again, and I wasn't planning originally to vlog this weekend. I was supposed to go visit my partner and help him with kind of finishing unpacking. He just moved, but there's been a bit of a change of plans with that, so I'm going to be going a different weekend, and that means I now have a bunch of time this weekend to do some reading and work on my thesis. And I realized, like yesterday, that I have like a ton of reading I need to get done in the next couple of days. So, well, about the next week, really. So, not like dire, but I have quite a bit of reading I want to get to, and I am so close to being done with my thesis revisions for this first paper, at which point I'll be able to spend the semester working on my second one, which is going to be really exciting. But the first thing I need to read this weekend, which is the most necessity reading here, is I need to read some Aristotle. This is for my thesis. I had a comment from my advisor saying like, hey, you might want to include a little bit of Aristotle and his ideas on catharsis here because it was really influential in the theater. So I've got to read a little bit of poetics, and I also have this book that talks about some of the impacts of Aristotle on later scholarship. So these two together I think will help me. I've been trying to figure out how to tackle this, and I finally got these in from the school library, so good to go on that, and I should be able to knock this out fairly quickly. I know it's going to be a little bit dense, but I'm going to start working on that this evening because I'm also getting a book stand coming in the mail today that I've been wanting that will help me with taking notes because it'll actually hold my books open while I'm copying notes into my app for, I use Obsidian for my notes for my thesis. So it's all going to be good. I think I can knock that out fairly quickly today. I got a lot of sleep, so I'm much more awake than I have been the last few days. And then in terms of all of my like other reading, I still really need to finish this, and I've got like 100 pages left. I'm getting really close to the end, but I need to finish this because I have the arc for the sequel, and that comes out at the end of this month. So I really want to finish this because I'm loving it, so that I can then read the arc and have a review up for that before it comes out on the 22nd of August. So that's really important that I get through that, and I'm thinking I might be able to finish this tonight depending on how long it takes me to get through all the Aristotle stuff this afternoon. Then I have a couple of library books that really need to get read because I need to return them to my local library. But first I have Translation State by Ann Leckie. So this one I think is a kind of, I'm not even sure if, I think it's a standalone. I don't know if it's the start of a series, but it's a kind of sci-fi about a missing translator and three people who end up kind of coming together and impacting each other's lives. And beyond that, I don't really know. Sounded interesting though, and I was able to get a hold fairly early from my library. It was a 4-week hold, so I should have read it by now, but I haven't because I've still been reading She Who Became the Sun, and this is now due on the 7th, so I really need to get to it. And then the other one I just picked up recently, I think Monday, was The Last Word by Taylor Adams, which I know everybody has been reading and enjoying lately, so I really wanted to hop on this one and, you know, get to actually read it when everybody was hyped about it, and so I can, you know, not miss the hype this time. So I'm gonna try and get to that one. It looks like it's gonna be really interesting. It sounds really fun. It's about a woman who posts a negative review and thinks that the author is stalking her afterwards. So I think that could be really cool. It's just a little bit ambitious, that's all. I haven't been reading as much lately because I've been playing a lot of video games, but I am more in a reading mood now. And I need to be because school is starting back soon. So this is kind of my plan for the next few days, is to finish as many of these as I can while also finishing up my thesis. Again, I'm very close. I have a couple more comments to address, and I need to do a little bit of Aristotle reading. I don't have to do a ton. I think he only talks about catharsis in like one small section of poetics, and then I have, I think, a chapter in this one that talks about the influence of that topic. So I think it's doable, at least to obviously do the Aristotle and then maybe finish She Who Became the Sun. I may end up needing to turn Translation State back in, but these are my very ambitious plans for the weekend, so join me for the journey, I guess, because it's gonna be a bit of a mountain to climb, but I'm gonna do my best. Well, it's several hours later, and I have done a few household tasks I needed to get done, and now I am settling in to work on my thesis and do the reading of the Aristotle stuff I needed to tackle. And it ended up being really great timing that I had to do a couple of things before I could get started on that, because then my Amazon order came in, and I got, let's see if I can show you this thing. I got a book stand, because I found that it is very difficult, especially when typing out of a book, if I'm like reading something I need to write about. I like to type notes into the Obsidian note app. It's my current favorite one right now, and I like to have notes that way because it makes it really easy for me when I'm writing to reference them. But it's really hard to type notes from a book, especially one with like a kind of a stiff binding. So I don't want to damage the book, obviously, but if you ever try to type notes from that, you either have to like hold it open for a minute, memorize a part of what you're trying to write, put a bookmark in it, set it down, type it, open it again, Or I've also, like, if the binding isn't too stiff, the one that's on this book stand right now is fairly stiff, but if the binding isn't too stiff, you can like put your phone on it and just like hold it open, and that works okay, but it's also kind of a pain to do that as well. So I've been thinking about getting a book stand for a while, finally decided to go ahead and do it, and I'm really pleased with my decision. It's working great so far, and I'm looking forward to taking notes this way from now on. So really pleased about that. I also got some needle tip adjusters for my favorite knitting needles. I have the Hiya Hiya Sharps, which are my very favorite needles. I injured my wrist doing knit 3 togethers with needles that were too dull, and now I never have problems with them. Like, these needles are great, but I needed more adjusters because I have the like really big sizes, but the cables are made for the like smaller sizes, so I needed some adjusters so I can actually use the bigger size needles. Anyway, random, you don't need that. But if you're interested in looking for knitting needles, Hiya Hiya Sharps, highly recommend. What else has happened? Oh, I got a new backpack, and I would show it to you. However, Cat, he likes to lay on my backpack. But it is a Dragon Age 2 themed backpack. I ordered off Redbubble from an artist on there who had some really cool stuff. And just as a side note, I was really sad because it was supposed to come like 2 days ago and it got marked as delivered, and it didn't actually turn up. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do about that. And then today I discovered it had been misdelivered, but the people that received it came by and put it on my porch this morning after I went to work. I got like a ring notification. So unfortunately they didn't leave like a note or anything, so I can't like contact them and say thank you or send them a thank you note or anything. But I just really appreciated that they went out of their way to do that, and I was really excited to see that I was actually going to get the backpack I had ordered. So, you know, shout out to that family for being kind enough to go out of their way to return that to me. But I was really excited it showed up. I got all my stuff moved into it, which I got a smaller backpack because my shoulders have been hurting lately, and I wanted to get something smaller and lighter with fewer pockets so I wasn't as tempted to like overfill it with things, which I have a bad habit of doing, particularly with backpacks. But yeah, so Cat is currently giving it his seal of approval. One more time, there he is. Elwood likes to lay on my backpacks all the time. It is Friday morning and I'm doing just a little bit of knitting before I go to work. I ended up deciding to do this morning. I was gonna read, but I feel like my brain's not quite awake enough yet. I am currently drinking coffee to hopefully get there, but I ended up deciding to do a little bit of knitting because I do want to finish this by the 15th in time for the knit along I'm hoping to participate in. So gonna work on that a little bit more. I've got a few more minutes before I have to leave, but that's kind of what I've been doing. I also successfully managed to renew one of my library books. So sorry, I have to pull apart this whole stack on my desk every time I want to get something out. I need to come up with a better system for this. But I ended up renewing Translation State because this was supposed to be due on the 7th, which is 3 days from now. It's kind of the 4th. And there was no way I was going to get to this and finish this. So I decided to see if I could renew it. Turns out I can. There was nobody else waiting in line for this. So I have renewed it. I'm good for a few more weeks. It's not due until the 25th of August now. So that's much better. Makes it a lot less intimidating for the next weekend in terms of the things I need to read, because that means I can really prioritize finishing She Who Became the Sun and then getting to the stuff for these other projects as well. Although obviously I'm going to read some other things that I can talk about actually in this video, since I'll be talking about these project books elsewhere. But that was kind of what my morning has entailed, doing a little knitting, getting that renewed and kind of figured out. My cat is upset because he's locked in, so I'm gonna have to talk quickly so that I can open the door for him. I had to shut the door because my mom is on a meeting in the next room over, so I didn't want to be disturbing her. Anything else? Oh, so I didn't end up reading any of Aristotle last night. I did get my book thing set up, and I was looking through the books to kind of identify which sections I was actually going to need, what's useful. So I did that, and then I needed to cook dinner, and then I hung out with my mom for a little bit. So anyway, that is getting moved to today. This is typical. This is how this goes for me. If you've seen my other weekend vlogs, you've probably seen and been like, oh, she's definitely not going to do the thing that she said she's going to do today. I'm bad about like trying to tackle too much in a single day. I'm very bad about doing that. So that's going to be moved to today. I'm going to try and focus on reading the actual Aristotle today, and then I think I'll try and tackle the like contextual book maybe tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. And you know, sometimes things don't go to plan, but that's okay, and I'm doing all right in terms of time. Also, because I just realized that my cat is no longer laying on it, so I can show it. My new backpack. full of stuff right now, but Dragon Age 2, very excited with this. I love it. I think it's so cool. Well, I just finished the Aristotle reading I needed to do. I read both a chunk of the Poetics and the introduction of that, and a little bit of this book on like commentary on Aristotle and his impact on later thinking. And I gotta say, I'm really annoyed at myself for having taken so long to actually get to it. I've kind of been putting it off all week because I've been really tired and I just do not feel like trying to read any of it because I thought it was gonna be really dense and difficult. And then it turns out I had about 10 or 11 pages total of reading from the sections I needed to read, because I just needed to read, I think, chapter 6 of the Poetics, a small section of the introduction, and then like part 5 of chapter 10 of the commentary thing. So anyway, it took me like almost no time at all to read it, take some notes, and I think how I'm going to use this now. So I'm annoyed about that. But it's done, so that's good. And I am now going to, I think, sleep on it. I'm not going to try and write right now. I want to give my brain a little time to finish kind of processing all of that and figuring out how I'm going to put it in the paper. But I think that I am in a position to finish the edits on my thesis tomorrow, because I have 2 more comments to address in addition to adding the Aristotle stuff. For now, I'm actually going to play some video games because I am tired. I don't want to look any more words. Well, I mean, I say that I'm going to go play Great Ace Attorney, but it's a different kind of words and they're mostly nonsense words. But I'm going to go play some Great Ace Attorney with my friend, and I actually have cupcakes from a local bakery to eat because I'm very excited about that. I saw a video like a couple of days ago of somebody, I don't think that it was even about cupcakes, they were just eating a cupcake while talking about something, and my brain latched onto that, and I've been like craving cupcakes for the last couple of days. So my mom and I went to a local bakery and I got a couple of cupcakes and she got some bread pudding. So that is the evening. I'm gonna eat my cupcakes and play some video games, and then tomorrow I'm gonna try and tackle that. Well, it's Saturday now and I woke up super late today. I was accidentally up really late playing Great Ace Attorney with my friend. I have managed to finish case 3. That was why I was up so late. And in the midst of that, her parents got home with dinner, so she went to go eat. And I was like, oh, I'll just play like a little Yakuza 3 while I'm waiting, because I've just started that recently as well. And I was in a 30-minute cutscene about real estate. So when she got back, I was like, oh, well, I'll swap back over to Great Ace Attorney as soon as I get out of this cutscene. And then it just kept going. So it was like a 30-minute cutscene about real estate. Finally got out of it. Got back to Great Ace Attorney and finished case 3 at about 1 a.m. So I did finish that case. I really enjoyed it. I think it's my favorite so far. And I'm really enjoying the way that Great Ace Attorney is kind of playing with your expectations if you've come from one of the, like, the original trilogy. It does a lot with the expectations you have going into an Ace Attorney game, and I'm really enjoying that. And I'm also liking that, like, it's set in late 19th, early 20th century England, and it's doing a lot with, like, the discrimination that Ryunosuke and his friends would have experienced during this time. Like, it's really not shying away from the kind of racism and other kinds of discrimination that they would have faced in both. Like, I think there's a little bit of the game that's set in Japan, and so we see a little bit of sexism that Susato is encountering there, and then again when they make it to England. But there's also like a lot of racism, and I'm interested in the way this game is like refusing to shy away from that. So that's kind of where I'm at there, and that was why I woke up super late today. It was like 2 in the morning when I actually got to bed. But I woke up at like 10:30, and then my mom and I just made what I would like to call brunch, but in fact it was just breakfast for lunch. We had some baked eggs and bagels that we got. So had lunch, because it's afternoon now, it's 12:20, and I am now in my office. I just finished like opening my windows. I got the boys hanging out with me because they love when the windows are open. So or the blinds, not the windows themselves. So I've gotten all that done, and I think this afternoon, first order of business is I'm gonna knit for a little bit, because I just kind of feel like having a slow start to everything today. And then my last kind of goal for the day is I want to go ahead and finish She Who Became the Sun, because I am so close. I'm like 100 pages from the end. I think I'm a little under or slightly over 100 pages, like not very much. I'm on like page 300 and I think it ends on 411 or something. So I've got like 100 pages, and it's ridiculous that I haven't finished this book yet. I've been reading it since December, but I'm just scared of what's gonna happen to all the characters because I know it's gonna be bad. So I've just kind of been putting it off. So that's kind of the goal, is I would like to finish this. I'd like to make some progress in my thesis, and I would like to do some knitting. I just finished She Who Became the Sun like moments ago. Holy shit. I'm kind of like torn between what did I just read and like how quickly can I get my hands on more of it. And the answer is very quickly because I have an arc, but like, holy shit. The stuff that happens in like the last 100 pages of this is so intense. And there's some really cool stuff with some like mirrored endings for characters that I really like. And there's so much stuff in here about like gender and like social norms and things like that I think is so fascinating. But like, I am just blown away by how good this book is. I could be holding it. It's just occurred to me. It's sitting right here. This is so fucking good. I love this. This is a new favorite. I'm going to be rereading this at some point when my emotions can handle it. But like, this is just like beautifully written. The characters are fantastic. The plot is so interesting. It's a mixture of like political stuff. There's some military elements. There's a little touch of fantasy stuff in here. So there's just like a ton of elements that are weaving together in really interesting ways. And then again, this ending is just incredible. There are a couple of twists that happen right near the end that had my jaw on the floor. I was so shocked because I feel like this is a book where you kind of at various points think you know where things are going and what characters are going to do, and then they don't do those things. They do something else, and they're frequently making like horrible decisions and doing terrible things, but you completely understand why they're doing those things and how they've come to these conclusions. And it blew me away. This is so fucking good. Pardon my language, but that's the only way I can think of to describe this. It's so good. I'm very excited now to pick up the arc for the sequel, but I also know that I cannot dive directly into that because I'm gonna be thinking about this for a while. I do need to read it before the release date at the end of the month, which is the 22nd. But like, I need some time to process this before I dive into that. Yeah, I need time to process this one. I do need to keep reading because I have a lot of books I need to get to, but I think I am gonna have to like step away and not dive directly into the sequel for this because I don't think I can handle it. I think I need some time to process this before I do that. That being said, I think I will try to read one of my library books next because I think it will help if I step away from fantasy for a little bit. So I actually have it here on the top of the stack. I think I'm gonna read The Last Word next. I might start this either this evening or tomorrow morning, but yeah. It took me almost a year, but I finally finished it and I'm so glad I did. It's so good. Well, I was gonna sit down, but there's a cozy little guy on my seat. Well, it is Sunday now, and I think this is how I start every clip, isn't it? Well, it's something now. Anyway, don't mind me just noticing things about myself and the way that I talk on camera. I was planning to get to work first thing this morning and finish up my thesis stuff, and instead I've woken up with a headache. It is luckily a mild one, but this happens to me like way too often, and I'm really annoyed about it. It runs in the family though. Like my mom also got headaches a lot when she was younger, so like not unexpected, just annoying. But I woke up with a headache. It is luckily a mild one, and I've just eaten some breakfast and taken some medicine, so hopefully that'll kick in soon. That usually does the trick if I can catch it early enough. But I am going to just hang out for a little bit, try and get that ibuprofen to kick in. My cat is currently trying to steal my water bottle for some reason. I don't know what he's doing. So if you hear clacking in the background, it's my cat trying to remove my water from the cup holder it's in. He's never done that before, but he does like to reach out and touch my water when I sit down. So I don't know what this, sir, can you stop trying to steal? Stop being a crybaby. Oh goodness, here he is. The little thief himself. Okay, now he's playing with his toy, so he's good. What was I saying? Took medicine, gonna chill for a bit. Hopefully get rid of the headache, which usually this works out pretty well, unless it turns out to be a migraine or something. But it doesn't feel like a migraine, so I think it'll be okay. But I am, I think, just gonna read for a little while, which I'll be reading The Last Word. I did start this yesterday. I got about 35 pages in, and then I started to get tired, so I stopped reading. but I'm enjoying it so far. I don't really know how I feel yet exactly about the main character or like the setup. I think some of the stuff around the setup is a little funky at the beginning, but I am interested and I'm curious to see what exactly is going on here, because I'm still very, very early in. Not much has happened yet, but I think it's an interesting premise that she's posted this review and now she is concerned she's being stalked by the author. I think at the point that I'm at, she's not actually started to have that thought yet, but the section with the actual like review and the interaction with the author happens very early. It's like the first few pages, and I thought that that was interesting. And there was this almost kind of like movie feel to it, like the way it's written. I almost felt like I was watching a movie of the character having this interaction, because there's this sense of like foreboding that's written in, where it's like the character almost has this premonition that something bad is going to happen if she writes this review. But then she's like, no, I'm just being paranoid, like, why am I thinking this? And kind of goes on with it. So I don't know what about that exactly made it feel to me like I was watching the beginning of a horror movie, but it kind of did. So that was interesting, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I'm about to have my bookmark fall just straight out of there. It is taking me a little bit to get to grips with the writing style, and I think it's just because I just read She Became the Sun, which has a very descriptive, kind of poetic writing style, and this is much more straightforward. This is much choppier, and it's, I think, very intentional the way it's written. It's just a very different style, and it's taking me a little bit to kind of get into it. But I think it's going to be an interesting book, and I'm curious to see what everybody's been talking about, because I have been seeing a lot of reviews around for this one lately. So enjoying it so far, and I'm going to read this for a while and hopefully get rid of my headache before I try to do anything productive. Side note, Elwood loves this like really basic, it's like a cardboard tube thing with a little track through the middle of it. It's got a little jingle ball in it, and it's like held together with magnets that are like inside of the cardboard. He loves this thing. He has absolutely destroyed the other one that we had. We came this in a 2-pack, and the other one, the ball came out and actually stepped on it and broke it. So the ball is gone, but he has destroyed the cardboard track. He loves it. So as an update, I thought maybe if I reclined this seat, I might be able to get Pumpkin to get off of it, because it always kind of weirds him out when the seat moves. What I've instead done is doubled the amount of Cat stealing my seat, because Elwood, I forget, really likes the reclining bit, and so he likes to lay on that, and he's having a great time. So yeah. Well, this day is not going the way I anticipated. Reached over to pet the cat, arm started clicking, and it didn't hurt, it just felt really weird, but I started to get quite distraught about it. I was a little worried that I had partially torn a tendon or something, just based on where the feeling occurred. It appears that that's not true. I have no bruising, no issue with range of motion, nothing like that, but it was upsetting, and I started to have a panic attack, and I've never had a panic attack before in my life. But I did, and I have even more empathy for people who experience that regularly now, because it was like one of those things I knew about in theory, but I had never experienced it, and now I have, and that was awful. It was like, I'm fine, I start to get a little nervous, and then I was like overheating, started to feel nauseous, had to push my cat out of my lap and get up, walked across the hall, got as far as my bedroom door, got lightheaded and shaky, and I had to quickly get down on the floor because I thought I was going to pass out. So, yeah, not fun. And if you've never experienced it, I hope you never do. It honestly was awful. But I am very tired now. That really wiped me out. The good news is the headache went away. Ibuprofen I took helped with that, so that's good. But yeah, this has been an afternoon of a kind here. But yeah, anyway, frightening afternoon, but you know, some days are just like that. I'm able to talk about it fairly cheerfully now because I'm feeling a lot better. I've come down from the panic attack and everything. And my mom and I made some lunch, and I've had some food, so I'm feeling a little bit better there. And yeah, I don't know. That was wild and wildly unpleasant. But I am feeling a lot better now, and I am, I think, going to spend the rest of the day just kind of chilling. Letting my arm rest, trying not to strain it too much, and also just trying to kind of finish calming down and just give myself the day. So I did, however, I grabbed the book. I have read some more of The Last Word. Doing this one arm is weird, but I think I'm almost 100 pages in. I'm on page 76 or 77. And I'm really enjoying this so far. I have kind of gotten used to the writing now. Some interesting things have happened. I don't totally follow the main character's thought processes. She's making a lot of assumptions, but I do think that she's interesting. She's definitely grieving something that happened in the past. We don't have the full details, but something has happened and she is grieving. She seems to have had perhaps anxiety, undiagnosed anxiety or something for a very long time. So that's an element of her kind of thought process as well. We're getting a little bit of her history on that. So I'm curious to see where all this is gonna go. I'm just not entirely sure why she's jumping to so many like assumptions that seem a little bit strange, but yeah, having a good time with it so far. It's been a while since I've read just like a plain thriller, so I'm enjoying it. But that's where I'm at. I'm probably gonna read that for the rest of the afternoon and see how my arm feels and hang out with my cat because he has stolen my seat once again. Well, I have reached the almost 100-page mark in The Last Word, and I think this is probably where I'm gonna quit for the evening. I'm pretty tired. That panic attack earlier just really wiped me out really badly. Been very tired all afternoon. I thought about taking a nap, but then we had some severe thunderstorms, so I ended up not doing that. But I'm about 100 pages in. I'm still liking this, but something pretty distressing has just happened, and I think that the book has suddenly taken a turn for the much more gruesome and unsettling. So I think I'm gonna leave it here for the night because I just don't really want to read this right before bed. I don't think that is a good idea. I think I want to be able to actually sleep. So I have decided to set this aside for the night. I am still enjoying it. I am still planning on finishing it. I just, I know I can't handle this right this minute. So I think that's where I'm gonna leave that off for tonight. I'm probably going to see if my friend wants to play some Great Ace Attorney or do something like that, just because I think I need to take a break, do something a little bit mindless, because Great Ace Attorney is not super thinky brain, and chat with my friend, and that'll be good. If she's available, I don't know yet, but that's kind of the plan. I had planned to leave off the end of this vlog last night with my little last word wrap up yesterday evening, but I decided I wanted to check in real quick this morning to end this vlog on a slightly brighter note, to say that my arm is feeling much better. I have not, in fact, injured it badly. I do have some shoulder pain and some lingering soreness and weakness from how badly I had tensed up yesterday because I was so anxious. And on that note, health anxiety sucks and panic attacks suck. So that was not fun, but my arm is fine this morning, and I'm getting kind of used to moving it and using it a little bit more again today. So should be fine once I actually start getting brave enough to use my full range of motion and I like move it some more today, so it'll stop being so sore. So all is well, arm is good. Also, I did manage to read an additional 50-ish pages of this morning, so I am right around the halfway point, and I figured I'd give like one little last check-in. First of all, the really distressing thing that had happened that made me go, I need to put this down before bed, did not go the way I thought it had gone. We get an additional update shortly thereafter, so I was pleased about that because I was like, no, this is a thing that I hate that happens in thrillers, but actually it didn't go the way that I thought it was going, and I'm pleased about that. I am also thinking that this second part of the book is really interesting because we start to get kind of a new structure in the second part of the book. There is an alternating viewpoint where we're getting the main character Emma's point of view of things that are happening and her thought processes as she's dealing with the situation. But we are also getting excerpts from a book written about the events that happened, and it's kind of unclear who exactly is writing the book, who exactly is involved, but the book is giving the killer's point of view. So we get this kind of almost cat and mouse element between Emma and the killer, who we don't know exactly who this is yet. We have Emma's kind of guess at who it is, but I'm not sure I totally believe Emma's version of events, so I'm interested to see how this is all going to play out. But I'm really liking this alternating thing. I think it's creating a lot of really interesting tension, and it's keeping me like really engaged because it keeps jumping back and forth, and there's some really interesting inconsistencies between Emma's point of view and then what we're being told in the draft of the book. So really enjoying that. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think I may manage to finish this later this evening. It's a pretty quick read. I read about 50 pages in a fairly short period of time while I was waiting for a very large zip file to finish extracting for work. If you ever had to use like a virtual desktop for work, you'll know that like they can move very, very slowly, and I was waiting for that zip file to finish extracting. It had like 900 files in it, so it just took it a while. But I managed to read about 50 more pages in that time frame. So very quick read, really enjoying it so far. I do have a couple of qualms with, or not qualms, issues. I think, yeah, I don't think that's how the word qualms works. Anyway, I have a few issues with some of Emma's like behavior and assumptions at the beginning of the book, but I am really enjoying how this is playing out now. So I am seeing why so many people have been giving this good reviews lately. So that's where I'm at, finishing off at the halfway point here for this vlog, but I'm pretty happy with my reading progress for the weekend. That's, I think, a lot more than I've managed to read in most of my weekend reading vlogs, and I am feeling like my reading is picking up pace, and I'm, you know, more drawn to picking up a book over like playing something or knitting something. So enjoying that, looking forward to hopefully more successful reading time, especially across the next week. I do need to finish up a little bit of my thesis stuff, but I'm down to so little to do that I feel fairly confident that if I can kind of get focused in for an afternoon, I can knock it out. So feeling good about that, and I think I will leave this vlog here on this little bit brighter note than I had last night. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.